I'll call the meeting to order. This is East Lyme Board of Selectmen, regular meeting of March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. Can you believe we had a meeting on St. Patrick's Day? We've canceled meetings for less. We're doing this meeting via Zoom at 7:30 p.m. Here's Mrs. Hardy coming in now. So I'll call the meeting to order. I don't believe there's any additional agenda or consent items. So then we'll go straight to delegations. Is there any members of the public here this evening who would like to speak to the Board of Selectmen? If so, you unmute yourself and you speak right up, and we'll try to direct traffic. Would anyone like to speak? Another way of doing it is giving me an electronic wave. There's a way to raise your hand. Give you another 15 seconds. Anybody at all? Anybody at all? Okay. Then we'll move on. The approval of the minutes. Kevin?
This is Kevin Siri. I'll move to approve the special meeting minutes of February 17, 2021 as submitted.
Paul Daigle, second.
A motion, and it's been seconded. Any comments or corrections? All in favor, say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Is there any abstentions? Hearing none, I'm going with a 5-0 vote.
This is Kevin Siri. I'll move to approve the regular meeting minutes of February 17, 2021 as submitted.
I'll second.
Motion and seconded. Any comments or corrections? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? That's a 5-0 vote. The consent calendar?
Oh, no, we have a couple more to go.
Oh.
Move to approve the special meeting minutes of February 22, 2021 as submitted.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any corrections or comments? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? 5-0.
Move to approve the special meeting minutes of February 24, 2021 as submitted.
Second.
Right. Motion and seconded. Any corrections? All in favor, say aye.
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 Question, Sandy, we don't have March 3rd minutes here?
Sorry, next time.
Okay, no problem. Okay, this is Kevin Siri for the consent calendar. I'll move to approve the consent calendar for the meeting of March 17, 2021, in the amount of $6,685.71.
Second.
Motion and seconded. I think Paul got in the wire, under the wire there, Dan.
He's quick. He's quick, that guy. Dan's got the next one.
Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Thank you. The ayes have that on a 5-0. Appreciate it. That's the, we'll dispense with all that stuff we do at the beginning of the meeting. Now we can move into the new business part of the meeting. We have a few things where, well, we try to shore up our current budget for the long haul to get us to June 30th. There's a couple of departments that are needing some support. So the first one up is the transfer of funds of the dispatch department, if you will, dispatch overtime. You know, we juggle with that quite a bit during the year as we switch from overtime to regular hours. But I know our two lieutenants are here this evening, and I think Lieutenant Jazerski and Lieutenant Mike Masick are here, and I'll allow them to come in and maybe talk about this a little bit. You may unmute yourself.
Yeah, we're good. So, yeah, you know, historically, we're running back into the same issue we run into every year. You know, again, this year we had two dispatchers out going off of the department funds transfer that's attached to the supporting documentation tonight. You know, two dispatchers, again, out for medical reasons. They were out for an extended period of time. So that had, you know, again, that's causing those shifts have to be filled. So we get the weekend shifts by part-timers. Our part-time pool constantly fluctuates. So we, you know, we'll have a decent number, guys and girls that work shifts, and then that sometimes decreases, and those shifts still have to be filled. So in essence, full-time staffer will take over those positions during the weekends that are supposed to be, done by, or even during the week, because they now have a rotating schedule. So again, with the medical issues and the pool of eligible part-time staffers decreasing, and again not being the same, we're running into a shortage in that account. So I'm looking to do a transfer from our police salary line. Excuse me. We've had a couple officers have retired, and with a couple of promotions, that's put a little bit of an influx in funds in that account. Normally that's not the way it is, but because of those 2 retirements, we're able to, looking to go April 1st, take those funds from the police salary line and move them over to that without having to go for a special appropriation.
Terrific. Are there any questions? Again, we're taking this from the police line where we have a little bit of extra money there because of retirements and shifts in personnel, and we're able to plug the hole with police department money over at dispatch.
Okay, Mr. Kevin, I'll put a motion out. I'll move to approve a transfer in the amount of $30,000 from police officers account 01-25-216-100-511 to dispatcher overtime account 01-25-215-100-214 effective April 1, 2021, and forward to the Board of Finance for approval.
Second.
There's a motion. I got Roseanne in on the second there. Dan, you're really sorry about that again. Are there any questions? This is, again, it's been difficult year in and year out because you're dealing with a small amount of people on a 24/7, 365 department, and a short amount of full-timers in contract obligations. So we are grateful that the police do such a good job of helping to plug those gaps and support them with this, I'm sure. We have a motion on the table. I'll call the motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Are there any abstain? Okay, the ayes have it 5-0. Thank you, both lieutenants, for being here. And I think there's some stuff on the capital plan, if that's what you're sticking around for as well. Special appropriation of the building department. Our building chief building officer is here. If you look at 2B on your agenda, we're looking for some extra funding for clerical and some of the part-time building inspectors, as we are absolutely jamming down at the building department. We are straight out and our revenues are way up, and we'd like to take some of those revenues that we're realizing and apply them to the staff because we are in desperate need of help. Steve Way is here, our building inspector. Steve, you want to jump in and fill in any gaps that I may have missed?
He has a message, Mark. He doesn't have audio.
Wow, okay. Well, I can't help him with that. I see that he's here observing. *6 if you're on your phone, although it says you're on your iPad mini, and which would mean you should be able to have audio, but it's okay. I think it's self-explanatory in the narrative that you received from Steve. It's one of those departments you just can't. You can plan and you can forecast, but the reality is, the level of activity is dependent on the next citizen or the next developer walking into the office. And I'll tell you right now, they're straight out, and revenue is up significantly. I mean, well over $100,000 more than we anticipated, maybe a couple $100,000 more. So we're looking for really minimal time to get us to June 30th. We want to add about 14.5 additional hours per week for administrative clerical, and $18,800 for building official inspectors to put additional inspector time hours out there so we can catch up. That's what we're trying to do. Are there any questions?
Is it possible to move this down on the agenda to see if perhaps he gets audio before we end the meeting?
I can move it down 1 or 2 spots. Steve, you want to try to call it back in? And it's part of the instructions, I believe. There's a phone number you can call as well. And if you have a cell phone, it shouldn't cost you any money. We had some citizens calling there on their landline, incurred hundreds of dollars of toll calls. But Steve, maybe you can call in and let you into the meeting.
Dialing right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right at the start. The directions are right at the start of the agenda as to how to do it.
Right. Why don't we just give him 30 seconds and see if he can call in? That way we can, if there are any other questions, he can answer them. Oh, and there he is. There he comes. Hey, Steve, so you're still muted. Let's see if you can change that.
Star
Can you hear me?
6.
There you are.
There we go. We have a winner.
So now because you have 2 things going at the same time,
Hold on.
yeah, you want to shut one of them down. All right, give it a try, Steve. Shut off your iPad mini.
We're trying.
Thank goodness you're the building inspector and not the IT person. You can't shut that iPad. You can pick it up and move it to another. Or mute
Any
it.
better? No.
Try it now.
Okay. The iPad should be off.
Well,
You're good.
it's still showing, but you're not outgoing. So whatever you did, it worked.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. You know, we're all dealing with our IT deficiencies. Are there any questions for Steve?
Yes, I'd like to have a little more detail on the personnel the additional personnel hours that you're requesting, whether these are current employees that would go on to some overtime, or are we talking about new part-timers that are without benefits?
The same employees we have. We have 2 part-time inspectors now that both work 2 days a week. So we're essentially asking to fill in that 3rd day, the 5th day. So we have 5-day-a-week inspectors out in the field. And but part of that is because we've been pushing them so hard. I mean, they're literally flat out. And between those 2 and me, our average age is about 67. And, we're one slip away from breaking a hip or something. So I don't want to push them quite as hard as we've been pushing them, because that's not healthy for anybody out in the construction field. So that's the one issue with the inspectors. And we've kind of actually been overspending that at this point anyway, just to kind of try to keep up.
Yeah.
We're booked. If you called today for an inspection, you wouldn't get one till Tuesday. So that's how booked we are. And as far as the clerical goes, that's the existing clerk, who again only works 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. And we're looking to expand her hours on those 4 days. She has benefits, but that's already taken into the package calculations.
Okay, so will these be more or less at will employees? These are not positions that we're going to be committed to maintaining?
Now, the inspectors are part-time at will, no benefits.
Okay.
We're
All right. Thank you.
we're adding no additional positions. We're just adding some hours on temporarily. We will not be committed to these hours going forward. It's a mutual agreement.
But in next year's budget, we do have more hours,
Yes,
which
we do.
we've already, so, this is kind of filling that gap until we get to next year.
You got it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
I have a question, and this might be for Anna, about the motion. It says, the total amount and where 3,000 is going to an 18.8 goes, and then it says in 21.8 to revenue account. Where's the money coming from? That's where it really isn't clear to me in that motion.
So our revenues are greater than what we originally projected. So basically we're increasing the amount of our projection and increasing the expenditure account by the same amount.
Is it coming from the revenue account? Because the motion says to a revenue account.
So in other words, what we're doing is we're increasing the revenue account and the expenditure account in the budget.
Okay, and then the only thing I'm obviously not getting is, wouldn't we have to transfer the money back out once we're putting that money into revenue? Don't we have to send it someplace
No.
to cover this 18?
No.
Okay.
So basically, as I said, we're increasing both the revenue and the expenditure account.
Okay, I see what you mean. Okay. This is Kevin Sir. I'll move to approve a special appropriation in the amount of $21,800 as follows to the following expenditure accounts: 3,000 to 01-01-104-100-311 admin clerical, and $18,800 to 01-01-104-100-212 building official, and $21,800 to revenue account 01-500-500-501 building permits, and forward to the Board of Finance for approval. This resolution is passed under the guidance of Executive Order 7S, with no town meeting and being less than 10% of the current budget.
I'll second.
We were waiting for you that time, Dan.
Dan, we're all giving you a shot at it. You're still pretty.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Kevin. We have a motion on the table. Are there any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I know we're increasing the revenue comp by the 21,000, but revenues far exceeding that amount so far to date?
I'll let Anna answer that, but yes.
Absolutely, yes.
And that exceedance will go into the general fund, vice into the revenue fund, correct?
Yep. So at the end of the year, anything excess over the original projection, that yes, does go into the general fund.
Thank you.
Yes, and I do have a couple more questions. The increase in hours, I'd like to know if this is due to new construction, or is it primarily people doing rehab of existing properties?
It's really a combination of both. What we have is the gateway projects, which are ongoing and will be ongoing for the next month and a half, 2 months. And they're pushing hard to get those done. They're virtually all rented out already. And then we have a significant amount of renovation going on. A lot of people obviously didn't go on vacation and don't plan on going on vacation. So I think we got four pool permits in this week, decks, sunrooms, finished basements, every nature of bathroom remodeling and kitchen remodeling. People are putting their vacation money back in their homes. That's a big part of it. The orchards, I think last week they submitted a couple new permits. Paz Construction did 5 new houses last week. So new construction is still cranking along, and the remodeling is that's what's really off the hook, is the remodeling. And the remodeling takes more of our time, because a lot of it's the homeowners doing the work, and they take a little extra to get them across the finish line safely. So hope that
Okay, thank you. Just trying to get a handle on what we're looking at down the road. So thank you for the information.
Any other questions? I believe there's a motion on the table. So I'll call it. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Steve, I know you're shorthanded and you're overwhelmed, and thank you for all the extra work you're putting in to do what you can to drink from the fire hose, if you will, because it's coming at you. I understand. I see it, and I also see your schedule on a weekly basis, and it's overwhelming what's going on out there. So thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay. Next on our agenda is a special appropriation from a contingency transfer for the Niantic Fire Department, as they too are running a little short in their budgeting. I know we have the chief, Barone, and I think the deputy Niblong was here as well. Folks, you want to go over this?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go. I can hear you, chief.
The biggest part of it is we had 7 weeks of illness that most of it was filled by overtime because it was a night shift. Therefore, full-time employees were entitled to take that, so it all cost overtime. That's where the majority of it went.
Yeah. We had a full-timer out for an extended period of time, and this is what happens. Again, you're a small crew, right? You only have 5 full-timers over on that side of town?
Yeah.
Am I right? Yeah, so with a very varied shift. So this is what happens, and this is why we have a contingency. And we get to this time of the year, and we look at the end, and we want to make sure that there's just enough, and this will take us to the finish line. Are there any questions?
Mark, just to point out, and Jim, this is based on the fact that with the absence, it has to go to be offered to a union person. You can't fill it with a part-timer. It has to be
I
offered.
can if they decline it, but
If they decline it, but other than that, it has,
of course,
they have the right of first refusal,
that
correct?
is correct.
Okay. Okay, this is Kevin Siri. I'd like to make the following motion. Move to approve a special appropriation and transfer in the amount of $27,470 from account 01-01-120-200-500 contingency to account 01-25-217-100-614 overtime Niantic Fire Department and forward to the Board of Finance for approval.
Second, Valdigo?
Motion and seconded. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, thank you, chief. I had record that as a 5-0 as well.
Thank you.
I don't know if I have an updated agenda. I know we were putting in an amended agenda, but I think I have the original. Is there, does it say discussion approval next of the proposed long-range CIP plan?
Yes, that is next.
And then after that, is there a discussion of the American Rescue Plan?
Yes, sir, there is.
Okay, that's what I don't have on this. American Rescue, okay. Many of our, as you can see by the participants tonight, if you're on the computer, you can see many of our department heads showed up because they want to be here when you look over the capital plan and if you had any questions about some of the purchasing. I want to point out before we open up this next item, which is the proposed long-range CIP plan, which is our capital plan for this year and 9 outline years. I want to point out that, yes, you've heard in the news, you've read about it, we've even had some discussions one-on-one with many of you, that there is, out of that $1.9 trillion that the government is throwing out to the American public, and many of us will get checks in the mailboxes and all that, but a lot of it's going to cities, towns, and counties, and states, as well as many other funds. And East Lyme is going to receive its share. We expect to be able to receive $1.8 million as a municipality. An additional 1.8, I'm using round numbers, and their numbers are pretty exact, but almost another $1.8 million from the Board of Education. Those two figures will come in 2 different waves. We'll receive the first 50% of our $1.8 million, so 900,000, we'll get that in 90 days. And a year from then, we'll get another $900,000. In addition, the Board of Ed will receive the same, which is good news for them because they were running it at about and last I heard, there was a significant deficit, so we found a way to plug that hole. But, and they're here tonight to talk about probably their capital plan. However, we want to go over this rescue plan too. The county is receiving money. The county is receiving $52 million. Every county in America is receiving a portion, right? But of course, in Connecticut, we don't have county government. So what the legislators in Washington decided on, this $52 million would be divided up per capita, per person throughout the county. There's 262,000 people in New London County. We have 18.5 thousand people. Our share might fall somewhere in the $3 million range. We'd get 50% of that in 90 days. I say all that up front, and we're about to have the discussion after this, but I say that because tonight and right now, we're going to go over a capital plan. And we're going to look at this capital plan as it exists currently. There may be identifiable items later that we will take out of the capital plan, out of the acquisition, out of bonding, out of LoCIP, and pay for it through the American Rescue Plan. But that is to be determined. And I'll tell you how we're going to determine that after we go through our capital plan. But I want you to look at this capital plan as if it was a regular year and there was no money coming from the $1.9 trillion coming from the government. So we're going to look at this as if it's a regular year, and we'll go right straight down through the budget. Anna's here to help me. As she's the one who plugs in all these numbers, and we'll start right on the top of page 1, the assessor, $85,000, and that is, we always put money away for the reval, and what we don't ever want to do is get to a reval year and have to come up with $500,000 or something crazy like that, so we put money aside every year into a CIP, into a CNRE, as we know, that's like those little piggy banks, that we put money aside, and then when we need it, we can pull it out. So as you can see in the outlying years, you see that we put money away for the reval, the future reval. In the building department, not next year, not in this current one, but you see the out year, we're going to be investing in a digital file system that will take all those files downstairs. And if you've been downstairs and if you've been into our storage, it's mayhem, because some of these projects can come in with, you know, rolls of plans and paperwork stacked, and frankly, it's archaic, and frankly, it's inefficient, and sometimes things can't be found. And we're talking about significant and important and detailed building plans that, you know, 5 years later you want to go investigate, that maybe the zoning guy wants to go back and pull it up and say, weren't they supposed to have trees down this tree line, or wasn't there supposed to be an awning in the front of the building? And we need to have that reference, and we need to do a better job of that. So in an outlying year, next year, that will be coming out. But I wanted to point that out because I need to start the discussion with the Board of Selectmen now, but you'll see this next year. Under engineering, we have CAD software. We put away $4,000 every year for our engineering CAD software and survey equipment. Under information technology, $10,000 a year for townwide department replacement of computers. Carmen Ames has us on a schedule where our desktop computers get switched out about every 6 or 7 years. Mine's on its 7th year on my desk, and will be switched out next year. Money aside, $5,000 away. Server.
Mark, you're freezing up a little bit time and time again.
What's that?
You've frozen up a few times.
Yeah, I noticed that I'm getting that. So what I'll do as I'm talking along, I'm going to turn off my video, and that should keep my internet secure. the building maintenance, the townwide garage door repairs, well, that's in next year, but coming up this year, townwide parking lot repairs and resealing. Joe, you're here tonight, right? Joe
Yeah,
Brigel.
I'm in the upper corner of the Brady Bunch box.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Well,
okay.
not for us, you're not.
Oh,
Yeah, everybody's
in the upper corner.
green. So, the townwide parking lot repairs, what are you thinking about on that?
I'm definitely looking at Bride Brook. That hasn't been done in a long time. It needs a lot of crack sealing, and that's a really big area. I'm also looking at down by Cheney Park, the area from 156 into the parking area is getting pretty beat up. Also at the FSB, the employee parking lot over there hasn't been touched in a long, long time. That's for starters. So that's where and it's always good to have a little extra money there just in case other parking lot issues come up, have to patch them or anything like that. So that's where we're looking at right now. And that's low SIP funds.
Right, the purple in color, if you got the colored version, purple is low SIP. Those brown figures are, that's, I think, the CNRE. So we take that money and we put it in our CRE plans, and that's that $15,000 for HVAC systems throughout the town and various townwide roof replacement projects. And we try to put money aside every year for, repairs and minor replacement. At the top of page 2, we're in desperate need of microwave links to our radio communication system. We have all these towers in town, and the way they talk to one another is through the microwave dishes, and those need replacement here and there. And this is a time where we need to do that. So we've split the project up into half of it next year, and then a quarter and a quarter in the outlying years. And that's color, and blue and color. Remind me what that is. Is that that's a grant, I believe, isn't it?
The blue is what's coming out of the annual acquisition plan.
Acquisition plan. Thank you. Thank you, Anna. Going down to the police department, and I think we still have our lieutenants on duty here. The police boat, we're at the very end of the CNRE savings for the police boat engine replacement. I do know, and Lieutenant Masick, do you want to talk about the grant you're going for?
Yeah, so just like last year, it went in for the port security grant, and we were able to replace the motor on a 21-foot skiff we have. I'm working in conjunction with Officer Mike Furman from Waterford, and we anticipate on doing the 2021 port security grant. I actually have a meeting tomorrow afternoon about that. So as we have been basically annually putting money aside for East Lyme's portion of the replacement, I'm hoping that because this is a joint venture per se, a regional asset, that we will, hopefully successfully get the grant award to assist us in that. And if that does, based on the quotes that we've received for replacement of both motors, it would be a 25-75 split. So I'd have to come to you for that at that point in time to bring up and make sure that we are, we're able to do that route. But in the end, that 25% would be split between us and Waterford. So essentially, it would only cost us $8,000 out of pocket versus the the $8,500s that we've been putting away in case we don't get a grant. But if we do not get the grant, then yes, we're going to need to use those funds that we've been putting away over the past few years.
Well, we're hopeful for that grant, and thanks for finding.
Absolutely.
And so this, we have been putting money away for it. Obviously, if we don't need the money, we get returned back to another project. So there you go. The acquisition plan, full value, will be funded by CNRE. Is that the police cars, Anna? That $81,000 figure?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. Moving on to the Niantic Fire Department, you see the assorted hoses. You see the 6 self-contained breathing apparatus cylinders are listed. And of course, the biggie is the $680,000 for a new engine, a new truck. I think the chiefs are probably still here. Mike's still here, the deputy. You want to talk about that vehicle you're still driving on the roads right now?
1991 truck that we're still running. I think we've been to you for 5 or 6 years looking to replace it. 2 years ago, I sat for 4.5 hours to answer questions and never got one question about it. So that's all it is. It's a new truck. I don't know if you have any specific questions about it. I probably don't have any specific answers about it because the technology of the trucks has advanced and there's a lot of stuff that we have not put on this, but I got a good quote from a present vendor that we use right now, and that's what it came out to. It may not be that much.
So we're putting together the plan. Of course, you know how it works, Chief. You then will be coming back through the boards and the commissions after the plan is approved in the coming year, early in this year, to actually ask for the approval of this said truck and all that. I know your testimony is going to be, we squeezed every bit of life out of this truck we could, and then some, and it's time for a new truck.
We still are.
Yeah, you're still squeezing it, and you're still doing right by it and right by the citizens and our taxpayers. But these vehicles are designed to last 20, 25 years, and we're well beyond that.
This one's on 30.
Yeah.
The sad part is this one you can adjust with a screwdriver. The new ones you can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
That's me. You, me.
Okay. We'll
You.
yeah, if you can mute yourself.
Yeah, shoot a mute her, Mark.
I tried to mute it. Yeah, I tried to mute it.
There we go. We're
Yeah,
close.
thank you.
Turnout gear, for turnout gear at $16,000 total as well. You see that, and you see the planners department has the self-contained breathing apparatus as well. Thermal imaging, 4 sets of the firefighting PPEs. Is that the same thing as turnout gear?
Yes.
Okay. We just call them different things in each department, but
Some of it's replacement, some of it's for new members. I assume that theirs is probably the same.
and assorted hose as well. This is standard operating procedure. We get these requests every year to support the firefighters, many of whom are, of course, volunteers. Next is the fire marshal, the Knox box. John, I see you here tonight, John Way, recovering from a little bit of medical stuff. But it's from home. John, can you unmute yourself?
I'm here. How you doing?
John, tell us what a Knox box is and why it's on our plan.
What it is, we have a little over 200 within the town, and a Knox box is essentially a small vault that only the fire departments and our office have keys to allow us access to a building in the event we have to go there after hours without having to force entry or break a door. And it could not only for fire issues, it could be for maybe a law enforcement issue, say for a school. So we do not have to break a door, and it allows us to have building access keys available to the public safety officials without having to have a key holder.
Great. So we're in desperate need to update the Knox boxes to have a better containment system of the keys, the inventory of the keys, and to have listen, things are different these days than they were 30 years ago. So we have a professional in John Way who says he's identified a risk, an issue, and we want to go out and purchase these Knox boxes. And in time, replace every single one of them. You said there's about 200 of them on commercial and town properties?
Approximately, yes. The records go back to about the early 90s. We did contact the Knox company. Yeah, we're going to go out and we'll replace the cylinders. We're going to do the replacement ourselves once we get the cylinders from Knox.
Terrific. And that will just be done over time because you
Yes.
go out every year and inspect commercial properties and of course our town properties as well. So that's great. Are there questions about the Knox box? Because that's kind of a specific item. And I didn't know what one was until I asked the question. So thanks, John.
You're welcome.
Flipping the page to Public Works, I have Joe here. Joe, do you want to run down your list?
Sure. On the list, I just, print's so small. So on the vehicles, which it says 429,500 is, there's I have two vehicles on there. I have our oldest garbage truck. It's 2009 vintage. It's like on duct tape and just glue right now. As far as every time when we get a new garbage truck, we retire one of the frontline services one and make it a spare. So all those extra times that the garbage trucks go down. So, and we've been replacing a garbage truck every 4 years, and we're due for one now. So that's 276,000. That actually includes a trade-in as well, a trade-in cost. And the other is one of the dump trucks that we kind of scrapped it from the budget last year. It's truck number 11, one of the mid-sized trucks. They're kind of our bread and butter. They're used all summer long, all season long, and then all winter long. And that's for 253,500. You add up to two of those, that's 429,500. The recycling carts are the cans that everyone so loves, and I mean, there's a run on cans right now. It's unbelievable. I mean, we're just getting calls all the time. We want another can. Even we have a price. We charge $110 with COVID. Everyone wants another garbage can. It's a very popular thing to throw things out, apparently. So, that 15,000 will get us about 200 cans. On top of that, we have the sidewalk amount that we usually put in for the CNRE, and the $850,000 is for the road work. I have an extensive list of projects that we want to continue. The big ones on here, last year I did put $850,000 last year, and it got cut down to 500. And what we kicked off was Dean Road and Grassy Hill from Upper Walnut all the way to Montville. Both those sections of road are in really rough shape. I would highly recommend that we don't keep pushing it off. When we want to do Dean Road, we also want to do the two little subdivisions off that, Whitney Lane and Whitney Circle, and also Winchester. Those two neighborhoods are the roads are totally destroyed. So with that and all the other cape sealing and crack sealing and everything else like that we're doing, that's where the 850,000 is. And then we always put, you please keep me quiet. And then we have the maintenance of the town dams, and we always put the amount in for the town bridges, just in case we have anything that come up. We have it; those are covered under LoSiP, so as things come up, we can use the LoSiP funds. If there's any questions.
As we remember, it's always important to have LoSiP projects listed, even if we don't spend it on that particular year, because when we do need to spend it, it needs to be on that plan. In order to spend LoSiP money, we need to have already pre-planned. So that's why we put it on there. Sometimes we spend it and sometimes we don't. So thank you, Joe. Thanks for running through that. Any questions for Joe while we're on Public Works? If not, we'll just keep on rolling through. Go all the way down. I think Dave Putnam's still here. You awake, Dave? Oh, good. You are. Okay. Dave, this year, the only thing I see on here is a pickup truck with a liftgate snowplow package, replacing a 2013 vehicle, and that's your ask for this year, I believe. And have we crossed out the irrigation well?
Yeah, and so I'm working with Brad on that, and so I think we have a different solution part of that project. So we had the irrigation well on there for the middle school, but or middle school fields, but part of his project with the water supply and all this, we're going to be able to work that out without it being a capital improvement item.
Great. Great.
The pickup truck is actually older than that. And Joe, if I'm right, I think it's a 2008 model that was not a 2013. So that, no, I think that was misrepresented in our, on my forms, so.
Okay. Thank you for that, Dave. And then that's, well, that's it on this side. And then we have the Board of Ed side. And very nicely, the Board of Ed came aboard tonight to kind of explain some of their projects. Hi, Chris. How are you? SDU. And Jeff is
Good, thanks, Mark.
is here as well. So do you want to kind of go over some of the projects you have?
Yeah, Chris, do you want me to share my screen? You want to share your screen and just roll through them quick, or just talk about them?
Yeah, I can share mine.
Okay.
Let me do that. And Jeff, what would you like me to just roll through the list, or?
Yeah, Mark, what would you prefer? Why don't you just do a high-level overview of each of the items quick?
Give us the list. I don't have a copy of your list in front of me on my plan. We just have a sum total. Be nice to know which part of that $1 million. We have the 500,000 of technology broken out because that's almost a year-to-year thing. But if you give us that, $1,017,000 project, let us know what you're doing with that, and we can open up for questions. You see how quickly we go through it. We don't need high-level detail as much as why it's on the list, and
So, sure. So can you see the list right now?
Yes.
Okay, so in front of you is the list that I put together for next year. If we do want any supporting information, I also have the slides that I used with the Board of Ed when we briefed them recently. So a lot of pictures that equate to these projects. So if there are questions, I think the pictures will answer most of them. What you see before you is basically the project list for next year. What you will find is the high school, the middle school, and that's pretty much it, because the elementary schools we just finished. So we took that into account, obviously. Did some excellent work with those. At the high school, just going through the way the list is set up, the project names on the left of your screen, CIP, why we're prioritizing it, and then that third would be the fourth column. That's the priority order or number that I gave to each of the projects based upon where I think they fall into the need to be done. So just going down though from top to bottom, if you recall, some of the projects on this list tied to a project that is already in the current fiscal year. So with the help of Public Works and Bill Shear, and he and I just finished doing evaluations for an on-call contract with 2 architecture firms and 2 MEP firms to help us with the design. So all this work that we need to have done, we already have the ability to reach out through the competitive process to touch these organizations to proceed with the design efforts. So the first item that you see on the list are air handlers at the high school. There's money in the current fiscal year to do the design. This portion of funding here is to actually start doing the work. So the high school, the vast majority of the equipment on the roof and in the air handling system has reached that magic 20-year number. And in order to start getting at it and replacing it before we have major failures, or trying to do one giant project when everything reaches that failure point, we're going to start phasing it in. So put money in for next year to the request to start replacing some of our older units that are in greater need than some of the other areas. And the intent is over the next 5 to 10 years, depending on funding and the condition of the equipment, to go forth and replace those units in entirety over that period of time. The next project, number 1 on the list, although a small dollar value, is just some basic maintenance and repair replacement of sidewalks and the archways at the high school and concrete. And this is tearing up old concrete. This might be grinding down high spots, replacing cracked areas, basically trips and falls. In particular, one of the areas that gives me the greatest pause when I go through there are the entryways, particularly to the the athletic wing, because we have a lot of traffic through there, people of various ages, and there are a lot of trip hazards now. So I want to take care of that, get that taken care of. Going down the list, not necessarily in the highest priority, but we need to start looking at our exterior of the building as well. There's some masonry issues there with water intrusion. The EFIS system showing some damage from water intrusion, as well as potential age issues, discoloration. So we need to start looking at that before some of those areas become problematic. At this point, we're hoping it's just repair. If we wait longer, of course, water does what it does to buildings over time, and a small repair over time could be a much larger project later. Next on the list, parking lots and driveways. If you've driven through the high school and the Flanders campus area, there's lots of areas that need various types of repairs, patches, seal, crack seal, so catch basins and whatnot. So various pieces of maintenance, all those different things throughout the area. The high school A wing, as you recall, is or you may recall, is vintage 1967. We have original single pane windows in that area, and also the facades around there. And it's time to really start replacing those because they're entirely energy inefficient. Some of the facade is falling off. So looking to take care of that issue. And as well, also in the A wing, the exterior doors. Many of those are bent over years, hinges have been replaced, they don't open very well, may not necessarily meet all the code requirements of today, so looking to do that. The gym parapet wall is the area that is on the south gym, if you look up, and we have a significant paint issue there, so we want to resolve that. And then the last two projects on the list are work to extend the life expectancy of the roof. This would be to remove the solar system and then put down a coating system on those areas of the roof, which should get us another potential 20 years without having to do a complete roof rip-off at basically a third of the cost for 20 more years. So it's a good time to do it. It's still in decent shape, and certainly the ability to save a lot of money there. Moving on to the middle school, very similar projects, just a different school. The air handling units, middle school, the new school is now at its 20th birthday, so it's time to look at its HVAC and mechanical systems, and we're going to start doing that. We have money in this year to start doing the design, and next year is to start the actual equipment replacement. So, and then as well, the roof there is at that magic 20-year point, and we have the same opportunity as well to coat it and seal it and get another 20 years out of it, a third of the cost of replacement. That's really quick through the list. If I can answer any questions, or I'd be happy to.
Thanks, Chris. Your next year's budget, so 22-23, does it have a similar price tag to it? I mean, you're doing a lot of replacement and extending the life of the buildings and the roofs and the HVACs and the windows. Do you have similar projects coming up in outlying years?
I do, and what I plan to do and what I have in the budget for this year currently, as well as in the early part of the next year budget proposed, is to start doing a lot of the investigation and the actual design and estimating. If you were to look at the 10-year plan beyond this, you would see, and I think you've seen it, Mark, there's a lot of TBD in the line items because I don't really know exactly what the cost will be for the out years, how long we can extend some of the life for the HVAC units. So we may get in there, and instead of having the equipment may be in the condition that, instead of having to do it all in 5 years, we can actually extend it out another 10 or 15 years. So that dollar value is going to change a bit based on the plant replacement value of the schools. I projected at around $230 million. I think if you read the early portion of the plan itself, we should be looking at somewhere around $2 million a year just as a baseline for where we should be based on PRB. But obviously I want to get as much out of all the equipment, all the systems as possible. So I don't know if it really answered your question too well.
No, that's fine. I'd say that because I'm wondering if, because there's a lot here. if one year should be the air handler year, the next year should be the roof year, the next year is the window year, and or one year is the high school year, the next year is the middle school year. I'm just kind of trying to gauge.
Well,
you're
I
the-
think where we're at with both those buildings is, well, in particular the high school. So we have high school, which is 2 buildings in one, or actually 3 buildings, if you count the athletic wing. One of the buildings is from 1967. The other building's from 1998. They all are at 20 and 40 years of major projects, and then we have middle school at 20 years. So to just say, well, we'll do this one year, we'll do this the next year, I think it won't work to our advantage to do it that way. I think we'll have to be doing varieties projects each year in consecutive order, so that we don't delay one thing too long, and instead of becoming a simple repair, it becomes a significant, or a simple replacement becomes a significant repair.
Yeah, Mark, I understand exactly what Chris is saying too, because I think Joe Bergal has shown us too with the roads. If you wait too long, the cost is it's almost prohibitive. But one of the things that we sadly have done for way too long, I think, in fact, going back to my days on the Board of Ed, was putting off maintenance, and we're now paying the price for that. So I'm glad Chris is, at least making us aware of their concerns.
Other questions? Thank you, Kevin. Questions or comments?
Mark,
Yes, Mr. Daigle.
Chris took his screen down, but
I can
Chris,
put it back up.
that's all right. On the window replacement, does that include the replacement for the windows? Or is that just the design work and investigation work? As I read through your description, I didn't know if it included the 30,000 included all the replacement or just the upfront work.
As I estimated, I think we're looking at around 5 to 7 for the upfront work, and then somewhere around 25 to 30 for the actual window replacement. So I was hoping maybe we could get the whole thing under 30K, or within that 30K.
So it includes the replacement as far as you know it right now.
Correct.
All right. Same thing for the doors?
Actually, I think we're going to wind up phasing the doors a little bit, but myself here.
Yeah, 50,000 for the doors, I think.
Yeah, that depends on, we're going to have to do a little bit of investigation just to see what type of backing material was used on those doors. I'm concerned that, some of the mastic or adhesive might have PCBs in it. If there's not, I think we'll be able to get it for that dollar value. If there is, it will bump the cost up.
The other thing I noticed is you had permit fees in there. Do we really charge the school system permit fees?
No.
Okay, so just the price of cost.
Just a little bit for the state education funds we have to pay into, but the town doesn't charge us.
And the air handling units does include replacement during next fiscal year. Not necessarily all of them, but it does include replacement, right?
Yes, I believe that we'll be able to replace the first 3 units at the high school next year.
All right, thank you.
Anna, just to confirm, this is the plan, and then when they go ahead and want to actually implement the project, they go through the appropriations project again, correct?
Yes, that would be correct. So the way the Board of Education plan is laid out, it's going to be would be part of a bonding package. So it would require going through that authorization process.
The whole appropriations project process, and that would include the town meeting and all that, and of course the 3 bids and all that.
Correct.
Correct.
That's going to depend on how the executive orders play out. So if the executive orders lapse, then we would
Right.
have a town meeting. If not, then it would probably qualify for approval without a town meeting.
Right, I'm assuming that April 20th, as it stands now, April 20th is fine. But you're right, that could kick on, and thank you for bringing that up. Other questions from other Board of Selectmen members? Any other questions on the Board of Education plan, capital plan? Very good, very good. Obviously, I see the $500,000 in there for technology. It's still needed, even though we really hyped it up this year. We've got everybody laptops and made sure that the wireless is working and all that, but we need to probably replace computers already.
Yep, and you go into the cycle of replacements, the components of replacing, smart boards that are hanging on walls have now become ProWise boards, which are standalone units that roll around the room. It upgrades and changes quickly. So, yeah, definitely needed.
Sure does. Okay, great. Great, thank you. And some of this, you heard me. I know you heard me about the American Rescue Plan, and some of this money. And of course, there's money coming in from all over for education. It won't be just this one specific municipal / board education funding source. So maybe some of the money we get will be able to be applied to some of the capital as well. Maybe not the plant, but certainly technology. That's what we're being pushed as a town to talk about: IT, water, sewer, and also outdoor recreation. So who knows how that will float going forward. Okay. Thank you. No other questions from the selectmen? And that's where it sits. That is the capital plan for the year going forward. Anna, do we do a motion to approve?
Yeah, so you should do a motion to approve it and move it to the Board of Finance.
Yeah, I have I'll move to approve. This is Kevin Siri. I'll move to approve the 2021-2022 capital improvement plan as submitted.
I'll
And
second.
move that to the Board of Finance, please.
And move it to the Board of Finance.
Please. Dan, did you
I
second all
second it.
that?
Yep.
Okay. You second all that. So we have a motion, it's been seconded. Any further comment? I'd just like to thank all the department heads who've had so much input in this, and we really work hard to identifying needs, not just wants. And we squeeze the living daylights out of everything from fire trucks to HVAC systems to everything else, to parks and rec trucks and dump trucks and garbage trucks. We squeeze every ounce of life out of these vehicles and equipment, and to a reasonable extent. And I thank the department heads for their cooperation. All in favor, say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? 5-0, it passes. So thank you. Thank you all for your attention to that. Next is the discussion of the American Rescue Plan. And I kind of, spoiler alert, I told you all about it already. There's a whole lot still coming out. This was only signed by our President Biden Thursday. A lot has come out. I've had a couple meetings already. I had a COG meeting today, a meeting with Congressman Courtney's office on this. Everyone's trying to get the information out, but also do it accurately, and with so much coming, this tidal wave of money coming out of Washington, we want to make sure we do it right, and we get it right, and we communicate it right. So I've had some discussions with people in town, with members of the Board of Finance, with some of the selectmen, and basically I spelled it out that we'd probably receive $900,000 of the $1.8 million in 90 days. We'll also receive, out of what might be $3.6 million of county money, we'll receive $1.8 million perhaps again in 90 days, and that's to be determined. That would be $2.7 million that would be coming at us this year. We can't put it toward our pension. It's not recommended to put it toward our rainy day fund. It is supposed to be spent on reimbursement of departments that had a deficiency. We could talk about Parks and Rec that had a deficiency. They squeezed by, they got by, but they used some of their savings that they have built up over the years to get them through that. That's something we might talk about. It's my intention to talk about this at the Board of Selectmen level. Perhaps have nonprofits come in to the Board of Selectmen. Maybe we can interview them. Maybe there would be an application process. Maybe they would, like our capital plan, maybe they would come and say, this is what we think should happen. If this is our request. Maybe it's Niantic Main Street that would come and say, we would like this money to be used for this purpose, to put people on the sidewalks again when this is all over, to enhance our downtown, to have a bigger and brighter Christmas festival season or summer season. And therefore that would translate to shoppers, people on our sidewalks, people going to our restaurants. Care and Share, another nonprofit that probably suffered greatly during this. And they are obviously a local food bank. They're also the Shoreline Soup Pantry, Soup Kitchen and Pantry. Out of St. John's, another group that is out there trying to get people to survive this and ongoing, because there's a whole lot of people who will be hurting for a while. So it's recommended that I'm recommending that we as a Board of Selectmen have a full discussion about this and maybe have some workshops or some special meetings surrounding just this subject and talk about what we think should happen, and many of the uses for this. It's important that we draw a line between the pot of money and COVID or future pandemics. So outdoor recreation is highly recommended, because as we saw during the pandemic, being outside, being homebound, but being outside is a good thing. It's rich. So making, we have some boardwalk maintenance needs. Maybe that comes out of there. There's some discussion about, and we talked about this at the Board of Selectmen level about a month ago, some recreation possibilities up at Darrow Pond where we're out of parking. We need to expand our parking lot because those trails up there are getting significantly used. And there's the Parks and Rec have put together a plan of adding maybe a dog park up there, maybe disc golf, maybe a bike trail system up there as well. So they've talked about that, maybe some lighting on one of their fields down at Brydebrook, or turf fields or something like that. There's many things. So we're talking about outdoor recreation. We're talking about infrastructure investment. So water, sewer, and IT, where we don't have to necessarily draw the line to COVID or future pandemics, but you sure want to make sure your water, your sewer, and your IT are up and running when you're having to work from home, or when you might have a short staff because half of them are out because of a pandemic, et cetera, et cetera. That is a very specific use for the money that was spelled out in the bill. So water and sewer, maybe they get a certain portion, maybe they get 25% of this full money where they can invest in their infrastructure. IT, we've been developing an IT department and upgrading our IT backbone in our town, and maybe we should use some of the money for that. And then we go to some of the capital, outdoor recreation, but also nonprofits. So we can talk about that and what portion would be appropriate. And it's something I want you to think about. And I'd like to have a special meeting maybe next week to start talking about it and what the process would look like. Of course, we still would go through the appropriation. Just like any grant we get, it would go to the Board of Selectmen, it would go to the Board of Finance, and if it's appropriate through executive orders, it would go to a town meeting. We want to do this right. This is our only shot at this money. We don't want to just go on a buying spree and a shopping spree. We want to do it right to enhance the town, to leave it better for the next generation, and to take this opportunity to do the right thing. There are people that are hurting in our community, and I think it's very important that we make sure we take care of our nonprofits, whether that is the health and the mental health of our citizens, the food locker, and our business community that's going to need a rebound. And we're so fortunate to have the Niantic Main Street Group as our local chamber of commerce. And when we say Niantic Main Street, we know that they cover the entire commercial corridor right up to Flanders Road and into Flanders Four Corners. So that's a very good group that we could partner with on that. So that I wanted to plant those seeds tonight, and I'd be welcome any questions from the selectmen on what I've learned or what your thoughts are initially, and then have a roundtable or a roundtable discussion maybe next week on this.
Mark,
Yes, ma'am.
Can any of this money be used for tax relief?
There's going to be a whole lot of relief for rental assistance, for food assistance, for job retraining, all sorts of things in that 1.9 trillion. For tax relief, I can go about and look if we want to take applications for, you're saying maybe for people who don't want to pay their property taxes? Okay.
No, I'm saying generally, can a part of that money go into tax relief to benefit businesses in town, or perhaps the town as a whole?
So we cannot take it just to reduce our mill rate.
Okay.
We can't use it for operating expenses. We cannot use it for operating. We can't just say, we're going to apply the $2.7 million this year and knock it off of everybody's taxes and, zero tax increase or negative. We can, if it's the pleasure of the Board of Selectmen, maybe create an endowment where we maybe give some people, individuals with applications, and that would be complicated, but individuals who might apply for tax relief or a grant or something like that, low interest loan or zero interest loan that they could take the money now and pay us back later or something, maybe.
Okay.
The individuals for
All right.
sure. Now, what we want to do is investigate whether that's out there somewhere else, and we don't want to duplicate that service.
Mark, the rescue plan that was forwarded to us on page 2, one of the things and this does not indicate it would be from the pot that's coming to us, but just the overall 1.9, help Americans stay in their home by providing emergency aid to cover back rent, assistance to help struggling homeowners catch up with their mortgage payments, utility costs through a homeowner's assistance fund. So it sounds like that may be another page to this, and not out of the pot we're getting by the looks of what was forwarded to us today.
Yeah, there's a whole lot to it, and there's more coming out. And those will be hard programs to figure out, just like trying to get a vaccine is a hard program to figure out sometimes. But absolutely, Roseanne, it's a point of discussion that we certainly could have. And what percentage? And what percentage we take to invest in our capital and create more public space, and what do we take to gifted water and sewer, and what do we take to for nonprofits, and what do we do? Maybe we involve the clergy in town, and maybe those are the folks that can reach out to the people in need. For sure, I know Karen Scher at one point didn't just have food, but they also did rental assistance or down payment assistance for people looking for apartments, and money assistance. So energy, there's going to be a lot of energy assistance already built into the plan, but maybe we look for something like that. So we're going to get 2 shots at this. We're going to be able to do it 2 years in a row. We have some things in our long-term capital plan that we want to look at. There's library issues that we have. There's senior center issues of space confinement that we really, we have a long-term solution. I can't believe I'm bringing this up, but I'm bringing it up. We have long-term solution. We bought the public safety building will eventually have space for different departments to move into, so we can create more space for the library and senior center. is that time now or maybe in next year's swing to do that? We'll talk about that, and maybe, next year's selectmen will apply next year's money toward it. Who knows? Who knows? So I throw that out there. Any other questions or comments or first impression?
Yeah, if I may. In looking this over, there are a lot of moving parts to it. I think dedicating a special meeting to just strategizing, maybe even getting some help, maybe from the outside to help us do this right, so that we, structure our capital plan so that as you said earlier, we can't spend the money unless it's in the plan. Really take a very close and intricate look at how it all fits together and all these pieces will work together so we get the most out of this. Tremendous opportunity here for our town, but we got to get it right, and there's a lot of nuances here. It really wouldn't hurt to, whatever it takes on the part of the Board of Selectmen and maybe some outside experts that really will begin to understand how this will work to help us. I would suggest that.
I agree, Dan. Go ahead.
I would agree with that. Perhaps a second meeting. I think we're not going to be able to do this all in one meeting, but I think it would be helpful for us to have a small group, namely our board, to discuss first. And, after an hour and a half of this, people start to go brain dead. So maybe a meeting among ourselves first, and then follow that up with inviting others into the group.
I think first we should talk about it, and I agree. And of course, it'll be a public meeting, so anyone can join and listen, as we'd always encourage that. Absolutely. And we'll then maybe go out and solicit from some of these organizations, including department heads who are brilliant and can come up and help us. And I think, Dan, to your point, an expert, there's no expert on this yet. I don't think Congress knows what they passed, frankly. It's a lot of money, and the bill was 9,000 pages long. But I think things are going to evolve, and we're going to have a clearer picture going forward. CCM will be on top of this, and our Council of Governments will as well. And I think we'll see an evolution of knowledge here. And you're right. I think we want to tap into that source. The newspaper hit me like a minute after this thing passed, and I was quoted in the paper, and it was like, I don't know what we're going to spend it on. I'm gonna watch the leaders in our area and listen, and we'll see what's right. We'll see what blend is right. If our numbers are right, and we're going to get 2 shots at $2.7 million, we'll do this right, and we'll have a plan for next year. And whether the next year's group goes along with that plan or lets it evolve a little bit, that's fine too. But can we plan for next Wednesday? I don't have any other ex officio duties. I don't know if anybody else does. It's the 24th of March.
No, it's the last week of the month. I think the only thing that last week of the month is water and sewer, I think, and that's not Wednesday.
That's Tuesday.
Now, there's no, so, we might not spend all this money the first year.
Of course.
So there's no time limit on this. The money comes to us. We can spend our time making decisions and portioning it out a bit at a time.
Of course. Yes, there is a time limit. I think both chunks of money have to be spent at the end of calendar year 2024.
Okay.
So there's plenty of time. You're absolutely right. And we're not going to get the first nickel for another 90 days. So no need to rush through it. But I think we should get a handle on at least the structure of what we're doing.
I agree. Yep, I agree.
What the possibilities are. And then we'll all, 6 of us, go out and do our homework and talk to people, and we'll have people come in. Well, I'd love to hear where Karen Share is right now after, 12 months after the pandemic, and where they think they'll be in another 12 months. And let's talk about that and what the needs are in our community. They have a very good handle on that. And in Niantic Main Street, what the health of our Main Street is, and going forward, what they need.
not to get ahead of ourselves, but
Yeah.
one of the investments that we're allowed to make is broadband infrastructure. And maybe we should look at having Wi-Fi on Main Street, wherever you go.
Great.
Let's see how that would enhance the town, or if that would be a good thing.
It would bring people downtown, and we have some Wi-Fi on our beaches now, and that was a big hit when Dave added that onto the beaches a year ago. I agree, and maybe it's time we could take some money and invest in a charrette for the next 20 years of downtown. That charrette we're still tapping into, 25 years after we did it, the Yale charrette. Maybe it's time to do that as well. So yeah, we'll have that opportunity to say, how can we make sure we're taking care of the next couple decades, really?
Right.
Absolutely. So let's put a date on the calendar and come together and just talk about it, and not and just absolutely blast. Come up with a bunch of ideas. Shotgun this thing.
7 or 7:30 next Wednesday?
How about 7?
Okay.
I'm good with that.
I'm good. Mark, one thing to consider as we collect these ideas, and, to categorize the ideas by must-have, needed,
So much of the CIP,
want to
yeah.
have, and then also almost break it into 2 categories, both tactical things that we want to do right now, like maybe Karen Share needs money right now. And so that's a tactical, and then strategic items that over the course of now to 24 ends up yielding the best value for the town.
Yeah, exactly. And all good ideas. And I know that this group is going to come together, and it's going to be this group's legacy, really. That we set the right tone for the town and for this money to do it the right way. So next Wednesday at 7 o'clock, we'll come together and spend, like Roseanne says, you can't go much more than an hour and a half on this stuff, but we'll take copious notes, and we'll hopefully create an infrastructure, a structure, a foundation in which to proceed. Okay.
I suppose that this will be the dreaded Zoom again, as opposed to in person.
Yeah, we're coming down to the end of that, maybe. But for at least another month, we're going to be on Zoom. Maybe until the governor's orders expire April 20th. Maybe a little longer during the budget season, we'll stay on Zoom. The Board of Finance, at least, just to maintain consistency. But yeah, we're coming down to the end of that. Town hall buildings will be open Friday. Actually, that will be in my report, I suppose. We should move on in the agenda. So we'll meet next Wednesday to talk about the American Rescue Plan. Okay?
Sounds
And
good.
keep a pad of paper nearby and keep writing down these great ideas, and let's bring them all together. Shotgun it a little bit. Great. Ex officio reports. Mr. Cunningham, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I have nothing tonight, actually.
Okay. Mr. Siri?
Parks and Rec met last week. They're doing a little bit of internal, looking at doing some, with Carol retiring, they're looking at doing a little bit of redefining the positions over there, giving a little bit more responsibility to Mike McDowell, and just looking at shifting some of the responsibilities around. So they're doing that internally right now. That's about it.
Great. I see Mr. Daigle.
Both harbor management and inland wetlands were very brief meetings, which is not par for the course, but it was. And the building committee meets tomorrow night. So at our next meeting, I'll have an update on the public safety building.
Terrific. Mrs. Hardy?
Okay, I will fill the void. So I'll start off with the Commission on Aging. Unfortunately, their vehicles were vandalized again. They still have a vehicle on loan from a small van on loan from the Board of Ed, and the new vehicle fortunately has a different system, has a different, an updated, so to speak, what is it I want to say? What is it they're stealing?
Catalytic
Yeah.
converter.
Yeah, so they got all three of the vehicles again. And so I think that we've got to do something promptly to protect those vehicles because it's really limiting their ability to deliver the few services that they can deliver. And as it is, they're only transporting one person at a time in a vehicle. And when we have all these senior citizens trying to get vaccines, it's a real burden. So I don't know, maybe we might want to consider, and I guess we'd have to run this by the insurance company, and I have not discussed this with the commission, but it occurred to me tonight as we were thinking, maybe we should consider a short-term lease on a vehicle to get through this until we can get proper lighting there. Or is there a possibility, it would be a bit inconvenient, but is there a possibility that we might be able to park the vans inside the Old Town garage? I haven't been in there for a while. I don't know what's in there. It would be inconvenient in that somebody would have to drive there, pick the van up, leave their car there, and drive back. I don't know, but we're going to have to do something. And I'm not sure yet. You probably know, Mark, whether or not insurance will cover this second round.
Yeah, we are in the process of redoubling our efforts. I think we're working with the Board of Ed. Actually, they're going to use some of their space. They have some well-lit spaces at Lily B, right out front where people would be hiding in the shadows. But I agree with you. The space to do it in, to put these vehicles in, will be the public safety building. It's a police station. Not to say the police stations don't get vandalized, but we have some space there. We actually have some locked space in the back after we put the security gate up, and that was the plan all along. But we got hit twice, so we got hit a second time this week. So we're looking for well lit spaces, and we are looking at the public works facility up on Liberty Way for storage as well. There's no room inside, but even in their yard, we should be able to find a secure spot.
There is what's happening with the other part of the Old Town garage? Is there a possibility there?
There's nothing there.
No. Okay.
That's not where we want to put them.
Well, just thinking to get us over the hump here. Okay, so basically that was it. They do have a nice outline of programs to offer late spring as soon as we can get facilities open and get people into the buildings. So they've worked on that, and they have quite an ambitious offering of programs. And of course, because they aren't having programs, and they're not generating any income. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. So now moving to zoning. At their last meeting, at their last meeting, they passed the they approved the development on Boston Post Road for the new building to replace the old rectory. They approved that with some suggestions for a few modifications to the plan, and the developer was agreeable to those suggestions, and so that passed unanimously. Commission of Natural Resources, they're working on trying to get some publicity about the kind of plants that people might plant in their spring gardens to facilitate this pollinator pathway to protect the bees as well as other similar to the bees, but it would be primarily pollinator pathways, which some people might be willing to allow space on their own private properties, but to try to create a sort of continuous pathway. The chair also expressed concern, coincidentally, about the fact that, again, we weren't able to get an ongoing fund in the budget to start saving money for open space. So in light of tonight's discussion, that might be something that we'll be able to make happen. And that's why I was asking about the deadline to expend the money, whether or not we could target money and then save it so we could build up a bigger bank account to begin to increase our open space inventory. But it was just interesting that the chair brought that up and the rest of the commission agreed that this was something that we needed to work on, particularly areas that would protect our water supply. Let me see. Commission on Aging, Natural Resources, and Zoning. That's it. I would also like to have at a future meeting our state senator and state rep address us, update us on some bills that might be of particular concern to us that we might want to weigh in on as a commission. So I'm set.
Very good. Thank you, Roseanne. You've been very busy. My report, I'll keep it brief. It's been a long meeting, and we have many meetings to come as well. Your Niantic River Bridge, I believe, is opening up tonight or tomorrow. They will need to close it down for another 3 or 4 days in the coming weeks, but they're opening it up tonight or tomorrow, I believe today. That's good news for transportation. That's about all I have. The Niantic. I was looking through some pictures and saddened that we didn't have our own Niantic run this past weekend. We've done it in the snow, we've done it in good weather, mostly chilly weather, and slowly things are coming back. The Celebrate East Lyme committee will be meeting, I believe, this coming Monday to start the planning for our summer festival. And there's a lot to talk about. This will not be a year where we just plug in all the good things that we've done and build upon the success, but we have to reinvent ourselves a little bit and try to anticipate where the world will be come the third Saturday in July. But mark your calendars, we're planning on a Celebrate East Lyme. It might be a downsized event, or we'll figure out the fireworks thing and the Main Street thing and all that, but we're intending on moving forward with that event. And I don't know, we've been busy with all sorts of things at the town hall, and we'll continue to do that and keep you updated. Any questions?
Mark, are you planning on inviting next month the group of people that the SCORE group to come to present to us?
I'll give them that opportunity to come and meet with us. I'm meeting with a group out of the Sustainable Connecticut. Is that the group? Is Sustainable?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Sustainability, I think.
Sustainable CT. And they have a diversity, equity, and inclusion program that would be much more appropriate than issuing a proclamation or whatever they're proposing on healthcare that would begin some of the conversations in the community. And I think that's ultimately what they're looking for anyway. And my intention is to have that to really kind of hire that group to come in and walk us through that. And I'll have more for you on that, but they will be invited to come and present their thoughts anyway.
This is the group that came and spoke to us last time, that girl that spoke to us?
Yeah, but that's not what there's some municipalities in our area that are going a different route. They did not pass the racism is a healthcare crisis initiative. They went a different route, and I've picked up on that, and it's put out by Sustainable CT, and I'm going to introduce you to it when I have the opportunity to do that.
Did you say hire them?
There is a fee involved. I think there's and I could use my ad hoc money or something like that. But yes, there's an expert that will come in and create a program for our town. And I'll learn more about that, and I'll certainly bring that to you. And maybe we could just borrow some stuff from other towns. But I'm in the process of looking that over. Okay. But we'll certainly let this group come and have their say. Any other questions? Comments?
I did ask that we invite our state senator and state rep to come to a meeting in the next couple of weeks
You did.
to discuss some bills that might be of particular interest to us
Yeah.
as a community, and perhaps the Board of Selectmen would like to be in support of some of those proposals that would directly affect our town.
Absolutely. And I so noted, and we'll have them come in as well.
Well, one of the bills involves the state tax, the proposed new state tax, in which would involve tax redistribution, property tax and redistribution. That a certain amount of the tax money collected locally would then go to the state to then redistribute. In a nutshell, that's what the proposal is. So I think that's something that would be of interest to us.
Oh, yeah. State-controlled zoning is something that would be of interest to us. I'm sure you guys have been paying attention to some of this. It's been very difficult. Obviously, they're dealing with Zoom meetings as well. They're not up at the LOB, so it's more difficult to govern. We know that because we've had difficulty doing it. While might be sitting in the comfort of our homes, it's still very, very difficult to communicate and be in touch and all that. And they've had their struggles too. And of course, because it's they're doing it by Zoom, more people are participating. They had 330 speakers on Monday for a particular thing that Paul and Holly were both on. There's a lot of, my opinion, but there's a whole lot of bad ideas coming out, including affordable housing. If you don't meet the 10% threshold, and by the way, about 90% of the towns don't meet the threshold, there'll be a tax on the town that we would be forwarding money to the state of Connecticut, again, for redistribution, separate from the property state tax.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. I hope.
Well, I think we need to get on this pretty quickly because they're already having public hearings on these.
Oh yeah, and I've weighed in personally on a couple of them in written letters and testimony as well. But by all means, I encourage you to call them directly because things are coming up in public hearings. If there might be one tonight or tomorrow night on some of these subjects. A lot of things going on up there, and
well,
you know, I don't know.
Well, I think that as an elected board representing the town, I think that things that bear the weight of the Board of Selectmen in a unanimous vote carries a lot more weight than each of us trying to call in individually.
Yep. Okay. Well, I'll invite them to our next meeting as well.
Okay.
You know, if they have room next Wednesday, I know we want to just do a roundtable, but if you want a legislative update in a special meeting, I can put that on the agenda if they can make it. And, you know,
Well, I think
the clock is ticking.
I think that would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be up to the rest of the board.
Well, the clock is ticking, like you mentioned, on this legislative session. I think if you want to get an update and get the word out, maybe we should add, if they can, their schedules are very busy. I'm chasing them down at 10 o'clock at night sometimes just to get through to them. I'll invite them at our next special meeting next Wednesday, if they can make it, great, just to update us, and maybe we can then take some action.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Roseanne. Anything else? Any public comments?
No.
Any public comments? Joe, I see you waving your hand there.
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
I have three issues. One, the lack of American flag and the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag at the meeting tonight bothered me. We did do it at the Water and Sewer meeting last night. Two, I'm a state certified tree warden. In the past, the Duda brothers did a whole study of the trees along the roads in this town. We have a serious problem with trees that need to come down, and some of this stimulus money, every time we have a windstorm, there's a tree down across the road.
And there are many dead trees that need to be. We have limbs over the road, which are actually extreme hazard for traffic death. Our former Public Works Director's daughter had a tree come down on her car, and she almost got killed. I just mentioned that. And the other issue I have is the lack of handicap access to the town hall. I sit in a wheelchair. You don't have a bathroom I can use.
Yes, you do.
It's a woman's bathroom. It's not a men's bathroom.
It's the designated handicap bathroom upstairs.
Is it handicap? Is it accessible with a wheelchair?
Yeah.
Well, boy, it's news to me. I've been in the town hall for 40 years. I've never seen it.
Okay.
Whatever.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Okay. All right. If there's no response, I'll motion to adjourn.
Kevin Siri, I'll move to adjourn.
Second?
And seconded. Any further comment? All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Thank you for putting up with this meeting on a St. Patrick's evening. Hope you all enjoy yourself, and we'll see you tomorrow. All right.